Hey, everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. So, stemming off of Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia on Saturday, one of the big developments in the mid card is that Solo Sikoa is now the United States champion. And on a bigger level, he has now grown the Bloodline seemingly now 3.0. We are now extending this out even more. And you could kind of see where this was going heading into this match at Night of Champions. Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso seemingly had a segment. I was seemingly in the parking lot or in the backstage area where they were seemingly talking about being on the same page. And then Hikuleo, who is going to be known as Talatonga, we can talk about how the lack of creativity on that one. It had been trademarked for a while. This had been expected. And still Tamatonga is getting his way back from injury, and he should be back relatively soon, I think. So this raises the question of, okay, where is this thing going? Because now the bloodline has been going on now for 5 years. This started in the Thunderdome with Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. That's where it started. Almost 5 years ago to the day. It was like sometime August, September of 2020. And here we are 5 years later. This is now a mid-card feud over a mid-card championship. I do like the development of Solo Sikoa since, not being the enforcer. He's actually shown a little bit of personality. And this gave us Jacob Fatu, who's just going to be a star. And I don't think him losing the U.S. title in the manner that he did, getting beaten up by a bigger man, it shows, some vulnerability and, some, character growth. We're going to see what Jacob Fatu is really made of. So I don't think him losing here is the worst thing in the world. But the question is, has the bloodline outstayed its welcome in WWE? And there's a compelling argument to say yes, because I know a lot of people in the space are really annoyed by this because basically it's just an excuse to continue this long running Samoan thing. It's almost like they're trying to do this to make Rikishi happy after they in his eyes jobbed his son out to Gunther and gave him a cheap world title win. But hey, Jey Uso is one of the big beneficiaries of this bloodline storyline, if you think about it, because we think of Jey in a completely different light. So there are positives and negatives to this situation. And Solo Sikoa really, I'd say in the last 6, 9, 12 months has really come into his own as a singles talent and really shown himself to be more of a leader. You now have JC Mateo, the former Jeff Cobb. Like, pretty much, they've brought over almost the entirety of New Japan, but a lot of people are making comparisons to the Bullet Club and how that's been continuing in New Japan for the years. And now I think David Finlay is now leading it. They're called the War Dogs or whatever. And it can work with longevity if you have some compelling stories to tell and you have intriguing characters. And that's why I'm willing to give this a little bit of a chance, because Jacob Fatu is just so freaking good. And I've been really impressed with Solo Sikoa. But what's the end game here is my question of continuing this and doing a different evolution of it. Last year, it was at least interesting because you had Roman Reigns away for a while and, fighting to get back his Ulafala and reuniting the OG bloodline. That was the hook. What's the hook here? Because I don't see Roman Reigns coming anywhere near this storyline. The bloodline's beneath him as far as I'm concerned. Like, Roman Reigns doesn't need this. You could bring the Usos into this, but are the Usos really needed in this, to be honest with you? Because Jey feels way bigger than that. And yes, aligning with Jacob, it would be a kind of a compelling thing. But how are you gonna bring in Sammy to give him something to do for the rest of the year before he goes after the Royal Rumble? Maybe that's what you do, and they could potentially find another member to round this out and maybe do some sort of 5-on-5 type thing. Maybe that's your War Games match. I doubt they would do that because it seems like Punk and Rollins, that storyline is going to continue for a lot longer. So it's just I'm a little indifferent about this whole thing because I have been a big proponent of the bloodline because of the storylines and like how it's elevated people. And obviously this started with Roman Reigns. But Roman's now away from it. Roman's now away from this whole thing. And, you know, when he comes back, I'm assuming he's going to be doing something with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Like he's not going back to this bloodline stuff. So the end goal of this really should be about elevating Jacob Fatu. That's really the old, like, Solo. You could say elevate him to, and now he's a champion, but I just don't. There's not as much value, and I don't know how much more mileage they can get out of this, because now, like I said, this was prominently a main event and high level storyline. This is a mid card feud. Like, they fought for the United States Championship. All due respect to the United States champion, John Cena is one of the greatest United States champions of all time. Like, there's been great men across multiple promotions that have held the United States Championship, whether it was in WCW or in WWE. Like, there's a lot of great people who've held that title. LA Knight recently held it. Like, Jacob Fatu literally held it for 2 months. And now we're using this as another vehicle to launch another Bloodline storyline. So I'm a little concerned about where this is going to go. I expected this to be the direction that they were going to go in, just based off Jacob interacting with obviously, with Solo, and then of course, his interactions with Jimmy Uso. So now Jay, you wonder where he's going to go after he lost the King of the Ring. I think they're heading towards a reuniting of sorts with him and his brother as the Usos. I said it early in the week on the channel. I don't think this is in any way disrespectful. I think main event Jey Uso as we know it is going to be, kind of a thing of the past. He had a great run. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they pivot to this and what they do with it, because there's a lot of different avenues that they could go in terms of pairing these guys together. We still are waiting for Tama Tonga to be a part of this. It's yet to be determined if the Usos are going to be involved. You would think if the Usos are going to be involved, Sami Zayn would be involved. And, that actually kind of makes some sense, because Sami Zayn really, we're basically just like kind of spinning our wheels until we get to Riyadh. I think it's going to be for the Royal Rumble next year, whether you love it or you hate it. The Royal Rumble is going to be in Saudi Arabia in 2026. And Sami Zayn is probably an early favorite to win that match, just because he's got a story there, and obviously it's a home crowd for him. It would be a great moment. I mean, he's Syrian, but Saudi Arabia, he's got a very it's almost like a home crowd for him. So this is got, like I said, very indifferent about this, because it's a very weird situation. I've always been a big proponent of this bloodline, but seeing this venture into its latest chapter and seeing it come to fruition and seeing some of the outrage on social media that, oh my God, we're doing this again. And just thinking about it, I'm like, okay, the bloodline without Roman, this is certainly a risk, because Roman, really, all due respect, and then Jay obviously became a big star out of it. That's really what this is spawned. But now there's no Heyman. There's no vehicle there. You don't really have, Roman's not coming back to this. Like I said, it's a mid-card level feud. It could be entertaining in the mid-card, but this isn't what it used to be. And they're fighting an uphill battle for sure, because some people are just like me, going to be indifferent, or they're just going to be completely disinterested, because this has been going on for 5 years, man. This has been going on forever. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.